If you're stuck under $20,000 a month and tired of chasing leads with cold DMs, spending all of your time in funnel software and making yourself insanely stressed out from offering insane guarantees, then pay attention to this video because this is going to be the fastest way to $20,000 a month without any of the headache. My name is Ravi Abuvala, and in the past couple of years, I've made almost $30 million helping coaches, consultants, agencies, and service providers scale using simple systems. And the framework that we follow is called the critical constraint method. And it's very simple. In any business, at any time, there are multiple constraints going on. There are multiple things preventing you from growing. The problem is that most entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs will spend a lot of time either focusing on the wrong constraints, or they'll spend all of their time focusing on each constraint equally. And both of those have huge problems. For example, if you spend all your time focusing on this constraint over here, maybe it's because something that you know how to solve better than the real problem in your business. Well, then even if you solve that constraint, well, the real thing that's preventing your business from growing is over here. And so you kind of just wasted some time. Or if you're trying to solve this constraint and this constraint and this constraint all at the same time, it's probably going to take you way longer to actually grow your business than if you just focused on the critical constraint from day one. So that's exactly what we do with our clients' businesses. We identify where they're at right now. We figure out what is their exact critical constraint, what is then one thing that we could do that could explode this business, and then we ruthlessly attack it. Now, in your scenario here, depending on where you're at, I have helped literally hundreds of people reach $20,000 a month, and I can tell you that most people overcomplicate it because, once again, they're focusing on the wrong things or they're trying to do everything at the same time. So I'm going to break it down into 4 simple steps, your roadmap to $20,000 a month. Now, the first thing we're going to start on is over here, which is going to be the actual offer itself. There's a few things you need to know if you want to hit $20,000 a month and not want to literally kill yourself from the amount of stress. The first thing is that you need to nail down pricing, okay? This is absolutely critical. Now, most people say, oh, when you say pricing, do you mean should I just charge a little bit more or a little bit less? No. I'm talking about you should be charging literally bare minimum $3,000 for whatever you're offering other people. And I know a lot of people are going to watch this and they're going to freak out. They're going to be worried because maybe they're selling these low ticket digital products or selling stuff for $37 or $67 or $97 a month, whatever else it is. But the number one reason why companies don't scale is lack of cash flow. It's also the number one reason why businesses go out of business is lack of cash flow. So if you're starting yourself up from the very beginning by getting this like little, let's even say it's something like $497, something like that, you're really going to have really tight margins as you're trying to grow your business. And I, like I said, have worked with literally thousands of businesses, and I have also had price points everywhere from $7 all the way over to $100,000. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, every single time, it is better to do the work to do a higher ticket offer than it is to do a lower ticket offer. Because a lot of the times, the work is pretty much the same thing. Yet the difference is you either walk home with $7 or you walk home with $100,000. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand when it comes to hitting $20,000 a month is it's going to be way easier to get 4 clients at $5,000 than it is going to be to get 20 clients at $1,000. Okay. Because it's going to be roughly the same amount of work. Now, you're watching this right now and you're saying, Ravi, how can I even charge the $5,000 that you're telling me to charge over here? Well, the number one thing that you need to understand after pricing is what is known as the value discrepancy. Okay. Now, value discrepancy is essentially that somebody is going to pay, let's say down here, $5,000 for something that they perceive is worth $50,000. This gap between the $5,000 that they're paying and the $50,000 in perceived value is known as the value discrepancy. This is also something that we call in our company the golden gap. Because the larger you can make that gap, the easier it's going to be to sell your clients, okay? Let me give you an alternative example here. Let's say that you're charging something for $5,000, but in your client's eyes, they see it's only worth, let's say, $7,000, okay? Well, the problem here is that that's not really enough for them to go through and take the risk of working with you, especially if you're just getting started or you only have a couple of clients, you don't have a lot of case studies. So it's like, hey, if you give me $5,000, you're going to get $7,000 in value. That's kind of risky if you think about it. But if you say, give me $5,000, I'm going to give you $50,000 in value. Well, now, even if it is risky, you can understand that, well, this is kind of like gambling a little bit in the sense that, wow, although I'm paying $5,000, I could make $50,000 out of this, right? So you want to figure out, how do I make that discrepancy as large as possible? And so what a lot of you are doing, if I'm being quite honest with you, is you're having an offer, let's say for $497, because you're going to make it worth $5,000. And sure, that's not bad, because that is a decent golden gap right there. And a lot of you are afraid or don't know, how do I make something worth $50,000 so I can then charge $5,000 instead of making it worth $5,000 and charging $497, right? Once again, a lot of it is the same amount of work, or it's just a small increase in work to get to the $50,000, but it's absolutely critical for you to get those just a handful of clients to hit that first $20,000 versus doing literally 20 clients to get it at $1,000 per client. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, hey, Ravi, you said that this was going to be a roadmap video. How do I get $50,000 worth of value, and how do I charge it to my clients? Well, there's a really good spectrum I want to show you here, and I'll give credit where it's due. I actually first heard Alex Ramosi talk about this. But typically, when you're doing something that is hard to fulfill, then it is easy to sell. When you're doing something that is easy to fulfill, then it is going to be hard to sell. So, whenever you are trying to create your first offer, or maybe make adjustments to your current offer, my first recommendation is figure out the thing that is easy to sell and hard to fulfill. And almost always, this is going to be some kind of done-for-you work. Now, I know there is this just huge movement online about everybody being a coach and a consultant and getting away from done-for-you services. And honestly, I think that's fantastic. We have helped literally so many people move from done-for-you services to coaches and consultants. The issue comes when somebody comes out, they have no real skills, they have no real background, and they want to start coaching people from day one. And that's going to be really, really hard to sell when you're saying, hey, work with me and I'm going to show you how to do it. The problem with that is they don't even know, how many times have you done it? Okay, you've just done it yourself, but what about other people that have come in? I'm different from you, et cetera, et cetera. And so you want to really make it as easy for them to say yes, in the sense that you're saying, hey, you don't have to lift a finger. I'm going to do 99% of the work for you. Now, I know, gasp. This means that you're probably going to have to do a little bit more work than you first thought coming into this, because you're like, oh, well, I bought this course and he told me anybody can be a coach, which is true. You can sell information online, but if we're trying to get to that price point where you're selling stuff for $20, $30, $40, $50,000 eventually, even if it's just $5,000 to start, then you need to make that value discrepancy as high as possible, which people always value when other people do things for them, right? They always value when other people do things for them. So when you are first starting out, maybe even if you have like one case study, or you're the case study, don't be afraid in the very beginning to charge a couple $1,000 more than you normally would. And instead of selling a course on how to do it, you do it for your clients. You can build systems around it to make it as simple as possible. And then over time, as you prove yourself more and more, then you can become an actual coach and show people how to do it with all these case studies that you've gotten. And I'm going to drive this home with a couple of points here. First of all, if you already have a bunch of case studies, let's say you're already an agency owner, you're already a done-for-you financial advisor, whatever else it is. Well, now you can start to pivot a little bit earlier. What I'm talking about here is people that are literally just starting out and they want to jump from day one to be a coach. Number two, you can add subtle elements of done for you. So it doesn't mean that every single thing needs to be done for you. I'll give you a really great example. I was on a call with a client yesterday, and he's doing about $20,000 a month in this like content offer. And he was talking about, hey, I have two tiers. I have this done for you that's 15 grand a month, or I have this done with you, which is $5,000 for 3 months. And he's like, I'm not really selling a lot of either. And I said, yeah, the problem is that the done with you, you don't have enough case studies or proof, and there's not enough value there to justify $5,000. And the done for you is really good, but someone's coming out for $15,000 a month, that's a very, very high market segment. So why don't we kind of blend them together? And why don't you show people how to do a lot of stuff, but maybe the done for you elements could be that you're going to create the content for them. You're literally going to write out all of the content for them for the next 90 days. And why don't we charge it at $7,500, right? So you can take, it doesn't have to be all done with you, do it yourself, or all done for you. You can blend them both together and make the done for you stuff the really, really valuable stuff. The part that everyone's going to get stuck on, the part that everyone's going to have an issue with, and you can easily add leverage inside of there. Another great example for that same client was, I was like, you could even consider taking the editors on the done for you and actually editing the videos for your clients on that $7,500 offer there, but maybe trying to find editors that are a little bit lower cost and could still offer the same results that you're looking for your clients. And now you're making it even easier. Hey, we're going to come in and we're going to give you all the scripts and we're going to edit your videos. Well, now you're talking about something that's going to be really easy to sell. And sure, it's a little bit hard to fulfill, but after you get a lot of case studies, social proof, et cetera, then you can start transitioning over to the other side here where it's easier to fulfill, but of course it's going to be a little bit harder to sell. And for every single company that I've started to date, I have always followed the same framework. I had a real estate advertising agency a couple of years ago when I first started on the online journey. I started as done for you. I showed real estate agents what to do, scaled that up to over $100,000 a month. Started really not loving this done for you work, and I didn't really like working with real estate agents. So I pivoted to a done with you coaching offer, showing real estate agents what I was doing done for you. I did decently well in that. I went from charging $2,500 a month to $5,000 up front, which was really great. And I also had way higher margins and way less work. But then over time, a lot of people were reaching out to me and they're saying, hey, Ravi, how are you scaling your agency so quickly? And I was like, oh, well, I'm just sending these cold emails with these VAs. And they say, well, could you do it for me? So then I started, for my friends, doing done for you work, doing cold email messages for them. I would have my own in-house team of virtual assistants. We would create the messaging for them, send the emails. And we were sending 500 to 1,000 emails a day on their behalf. This was 5 years ago. And that worked really well. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars from that offer. But then eventually I hit the same kind of ceiling there where I was like, wow, this is a lot of work to do. What if, instead of us doing all the work for them, what if we actually train the virtual assistant and then show them how to create their own messaging, and then we give them the virtual assistant? And that was really the genesis of the offer I have today, which is scaling with systems. We no longer place virtual assistants, but the idea being that I started always hard to fulfill and charge way more money and close way more clients because it was easier to sell in the beginning when I didn't have a lot of sales skills, I didn't have a lot of proof. And then over time, I was able to make that transition to done with you, coaching, et cetera, and still keep that premium price point because of all of the social proof and confidence and skills I had gotten from the done for you. Now, the third part of a really great offer, we have to talk about guarantees, right? And I think ever since Alex Hormozi came out with $100 million offers, the entire market exploded with, I'll do this thing for you, or you don't pay, or I'll give you all your money back, or I'll give you all your money back, I'll give you $1,000, or I'll give you all your money back, I'll give you $1,000, I'll give you a back rub, and I'll take you to dinner, right? I mean, it was like insane overnight how many of these offers were going insane, making these guarantees, and working with so many of those people, I know how on pins and needles every single one of those people were. They were literally closing a client, over-promising like crazy, knowing they were over-promising, but just doing it to close the deal because they knew that it was easier to sell if you had a guarantee. And then they would be so stressed out for the coming months to try to get that client the results. Then the clients would ask for their money back, and then they go, oh, well, you didn't hit this one little line of this money back guarantee. So now they're getting bad word of mouth in the marketplace, and it was a total you-know-what. It was so bad. And I think it was really not great for the entire marketplace. Now, the other part of that is that how many of those offers do you still see around today? How many of those offers do you still see making the same claims, doing the same thing? Well, I've been in here for 5 years, and I can tell you, not a lot of offers doing the same thing. And I'm not here preaching on like a soapbox, okay? I tested a money back guarantee for us. And did we get more book calls? Absolutely. Do we get more closed deals? Absolutely. Was it net positive for the company? Absolutely not. Because number one, we actually had to give refunds because I was truthful about it. I didn't try to weasel out of refunds anytime the chance came. So we had more lost cash than we did before. Number two, we started attracting a lower caliber person because they wanted a total risk reversal. They wanted to make sure that they had 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. So our client results lowered. And so we weren't able to ascend people to our back end offers like we were previously. And number three, like I told you a moment ago, myself and my client success team were stressed out 24/7. We were literally always like, oh my God, how many clients? Every leadership meeting I had was me and my client success director talking about what clients asking for their money back guarantee, and we're going to use it and how we're going to talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And it just wasn't the business that I wanted to run, to be honest with you. And I said, okay, well, we've done 3+ years of doing no money back guarantee with no problem. We've now tested it for a year. Let's just go back to not offering the money back guarantee. Even if I make less money than before, I'd rather be happy inside of my business, which is the mission of our company. Our company's mission is to help you build a business that serves you instead of you serving it. And so I felt like I was serving my business instead of my business serving me. So I decided, you know what? Forget the money back guarantee. We're not going to do it. And I removed it, and I have never looked back since. And I'm making more money than I was previously, and I'm keeping more of it because I'm attracting better people. I'm not attracting people that want their way out as soon as they get in, and I'm not burning out my client success team and my client success director by having to deal with all this negativity all the time. Instead, we're just getting incredible client results, and our clients actually love working with us. Once again, a lot of times why I see people offering guarantees is because from day one, without enough market positioning, framing, social proof, testimonials, and sales skills, they're trying to offer coaching or consulting when in reality, they need to be trying to figure out how do I blend a little bit more done for you in there. And because they're offering coaching consulting, it's so hard to sell that they're saying, oh, okay, well then if it doesn't work, I'll give you all your money back. They're just like literally throwing it at their clients in order to get the deals closed. Instead, if you focus more on the done for you and you remove that money back guarantee, you'll eventually be in a position where you command so much authority in a marketplace, which by the way, doesn't mean you have 100 clients. It can mean that you have 10 clients, 15 clients, 20 clients. You command so much position in a marketplace that you don't have to ever offer a money back guarantee again, which I can promise you is the best case result. Okay, so for the final part about adjusting your offer, which by the way, one of these things might apply to you, two of these things, the whole point of me telling you about the critical constraint earlier is for you to understand that you probably don't need to implement all of this stuff right away, but you should pick and choose which one of these is going to have the highest impact for your business. Well, the last thing I want to talk about is testing your pricing, right? So maybe you're listening to this right now, and maybe you're already selling something for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Maybe you already have done for you, and you've switched to done with you. You already have case studies, testimonial, social proof, and you're trying to scale and hit your first $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. Well, I can't tell you how many clients that we've helped hitting that just by testing their pricing limitations, because they've always sold their offer at $4,000, so they always will sell their offer at $4,000 instead of testing it at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, even $8,000, even doubling the pricing. And we've seen this work really well multiple times, okay? I'd say it actually works more times than it doesn't work for the clients. And there's really not a lot of cost of you testing it out, right? Okay, maybe you lost a client that you could have closed at the other price point, but the pro of charging higher prices where you essentially are taking home more profit for the same amount of work is always worth that. That's worth any kind of risk of you losing a little bit of money by offering a higher price point than you did before. And in my experience, most business owners wildly undercharge. Because once again, they're trying to make something that's hard to sell, easier to sell. They're trying to sell it as cheap as humanly possible, when I can tell you that that's not the strategy, right? That's really falling more in the sense that you don't have the framing, you don't have the social proof, you don't have the value discrepancy, and so you're trying to do anything that you can. Okay, I'll only charge $500 and I'll give you a money back guarantee. At that point, don't even sign the client, okay? It's literally not even worth it at that point. So when it comes to testing pricing, you should focus on a formula that I've created for my clients, right? So it's C2 equals P1 times C1 divided by P2. Now, what this formula is for, and I know this is a little advanced, but this is going to be for a little bit advanced people. What this formula is for you to know what your close rate can drop by, and you can still maintain the same amount of money that you're currently making, but with less work, or maybe even with more profit. So let me just give you a quick example. Let's say that my first price point is $4,000, okay? I'm going to put this here. And let's say that I'm closing it at 15%, so 0.15. I'll put that there. So we'll say we're closing it at 15%. So if I do $4,000 times 15%, I'm going to get $600. Now, let's say that I want to test a new price point and I want to double my my pricing, or do $8,000. So we're going to do $600 divided by $8,000. And I'm actually going to get 7.5%. So that means that I can literally have my close rate lower from 15% to 7.5% and still be more profitable than I was at the 15%. Okay, so most people, they see their close rate lowering and they're freaking out. They're going, Ravi, my close rate's dropping down. I need to go back to what I was doing previously. I was selling more units before. And I always remind them, my friend. The goal wasn't to always sell as many units as humanly possible. The goal is to build a business that serves you instead of you serving it, aka to make as much money, take home profit as possible with as least work as humanly possible. Okay, so if I can show you, hey, your close rate's going to drop a little bit here, but you're actually going to do way less work and you're going to take home way more profit, who's going to say no to that? Nobody's going to say no to that. But the problem is that most people see their close rate dropping and they freak out. So I created this formula. You can plug any numbers in. Whatever your current pricing is times your current close rate divided by whatever you want to test the new pricing is, and that'll get you what your bare minimum new close rate needs to be in order for it to be worth it for you to keep going down that new price point route. Okay, so we have got the offer nailed down. Let's go back to my little funnel right here. So this is the funnel. It looks like we've covered this part. How do we create an offer that has a high enough price point that we can make a lot of money, hit 20K a month very, very easily with the least amount of work possible? Now, the next thing we need to do is go back to our critical constraint here. We need to say, okay, now that we've gotten the offer down, we've solved that constraint, what's the next constraint that we need to look at? And what a lot of people will do is they'll just say, oh, I need to build a funnel or I need to work on my sales calls. But in reality, at this point, you actually need to focus on attention, right? That's why we follow the critical constraint method at our company, because it's not always this linear perfect thing. It's wherever the biggest constraint is. So the next thing we need to focus on is attention. Now, what do I mean by attention? Well, attention is essentially how you're getting people in the marketplace to know who you are and that you have an offer or a service, right? That's the only way that you're going to get clients in the first place. So we just worked and adjusted this offer to make it amazing and to make it so that we can charge a lot of money, but it doesn't matter that we did all of that if we're not able to bring people to the actual offer and close them in the first place. Now, I referenced earlier that when I first started in this industry, cold email was the hot new thing. And everybody was running it and it was working incredibly well to get clients. That was 5 years ago. The marketplace has changed. There's a few big things going on in the marketplace right now, and I'm going to cover that in this section. The first thing I want you to understand is what is known as framing. And this took me way too long to figure this out. And if I had known this sooner, I know I would have scaled a lot faster and been a lot happier. Now, framing is essentially the position that you're in the eye of somebody else. So let me give you a great example. If I am cold emailing and cold DMing random people and I'm saying, hey, Bob, I really like your contents. Let me edit your videos for you, or let me run your ads for you, or let me show you how to get in shape. And I'm sending them cold emails. I have a very low frame. Okay, meaning that I'm essentially, for lack of a better term, I am begging this person for business. I'm saying, please, 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 please work with me. I know I can help you. I know I can help you. I'm going to them. Okay, which means that at every single point here, the person responds back, sure, yeah, here's a time to book on my calendar. Now I'm booking on their calendar. I'm coming to them. I'm trying to work inside their schedule, right? And that's how I get on a sales call. And now I'm trying to ask these really pain-digging questions, these clarifying questions, and they're all guarded up because, like, dude, you just cold emailed me a second ago. I'm not going to tell you how much money I'm making or what my net worth is or what my take-home profit is or how my sex is with my wife, right? So those are all instances of low or weak framing. And when you have low or weak framing, you're essentially trying to push a boulder up a hill, okay? You can work 10 times harder than somebody who has a strong frame and get the exact same results, okay? So in the very beginning, I was doing a lot of cold email and cold messaging because that was what everybody else was doing, and I didn't understand framing. Now that I understand framing, I will never ever do cold email, cold calling, or cold messaging again, even if I'm starting from scratch. I have a portfolio of companies that I'm growing right now, and all of them start from virtually zero. Maybe they're doing 10K a month when I first start working with them and acquire the company. And every single one of them, even if they're doing cold email right away, I immediately say, we're stopping cold email, we're stopping cold outbound, and we're going to start doing something inbounds. So a strong frame is, instead of you going to a prospect, the prospect's coming to you. Instead of you booking on your prospect's calendar, they're booking on your calendar. Because now you have the frame, you have the authority. This person's saying, hey, I've consumed your content, I've looked at your stuff, I might be interested in potentially working with you. Let me get a call, let me find a time that works in the calendar, and they come on the call, and you're like, okay, great, why don't you tell me how much money you're doing in your business right now? And they're like, whoa, like, I don't feel comfortable saying that. And you're like, well, why did you book this call? You came to me, I didn't come to you. Now you have a strong frame. At the very end, when you say, yeah, it's going to be $5,000, and they go, oh, I don't know if I can afford $5,000, you can then hold them to what they said earlier in the call, because remember, they see you as the expert. They see you as the authority. And so you can call them, didn't you say, Bob, that this was something that you definitely want to do at the beginning of this call, and you knew it was the time right now to make a change in your life? Didn't you say that, Bob? You couldn't do that if you had or it would be way harder to do it if you had a weaker frame, if you had a lower frame. I'll never forget when I was first running my advertising agency, before I even started working with real estate agents specifically, I was working with anybody that would take my money. And I'll never forget, I got on a call with a medical spa, and I cold emailed them, and they finally got on a call with me, and I was talking to the doctor. I was like, great, so let's start this off. And I was just going through this sales script I got from this course. I was like, so how much money are you currently doing in your business? And he's like, excuse me? I was like, oh, I was asking how much money you're currently doing in your business. Like, who the F do you think you are to ask me how much money I'm making inside my business? We just met a second ago. I'm not going to extract. And I was like, oh God. And this is my first, let's say, first 1 or 2 sales calls. I'm like, oh God, sorry. And obviously I didn't close that sale, right? Because I had no frame. Versus if that person came to me, they booked a call on my calendar, then I would have frame. So when you're looking for attention, not all attention is created equal. You want to have attention where you have strong framing, which is almost always going to be inbound attention, okay? Where people are coming to you. And there are 2 main types of inbound attention. There is going to be ads, and there's going to be content, okay? And they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin, meaning that ads is just a way that you can get your content to more people. You're essentially paying to get your content to more people. So anytime I'm launching a company from now on, I'm going straight to ads or content. And actually, in my company, Scaling with Systems, that's exactly what we help our clients do. We help them create a blended marketing system where they're using both ads and organic content. So a lot of people come to us with just ads and we help them infuse organic content, or they come to us with just content and we help them infuse ads, or of course they have neither of them because they're doing cold email, cold messaging, and we'll help them transition to something that has way more framing. Which, by the way, if you're watching this video and you do want my help, my team's help to scale your business and build a marketing system like this, be sure to go down below and book a call to speak with our team. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to understand framing, and we want to understand that we want to be using marketing systems that bring inbound attention to us. Now, when we're talking about creating these systems, you have a few different options, right? I could create TikTok content, I could create Instagram content, I could create YouTube, I could go on Twitter. Everyone says LinkedIn is the hot thing, blah, 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 right? I could run ads, I could run a lead format and outbound these people. I understand your frustration or your overwhelm because it feels like there's hundreds of ways to do the exact same thing. And that's why I really like to work from first principles basis, meaning that I try to break things down in as simple of a form as possible to try to drive things home. There are 2 main trends going on in the marketplace right now, and this is verified third-party data. This is not me saying it. So the first one of the trends that's going on right now is what's known as a trust recession, okay? And this is according to the General Social Survey, which is the longest person-to-person trust study done in the United States. We're at the lowest point of interpersonal trust in the last 4 years. So most people just don't think that they can trust people like they used to. And of course, this is all because of the rise of, let's say the online world, how quickly it is to make a business, how quickly it is to create content, get leads, and close a deal without having a lot of the same time, energy, and effort you had to put into before, which means that kind of grifters or scammers can flip up new businesses every 6 months, and it's hard for people to catch up with it, right? So we're at the lowest point of person-to-person trust, which means that the stuff that worked for me 4 or 5 years ago no longer works today. And even the stuff that worked for me 1 to 2 years ago, like just running ads and not worrying too much about content, no longer works today. I need to make sure that I am creating as much trust with my prospects before they get on a sales call so I have the highest chance of closing them when they actually come on the call. If you have the best sales script in the world, the best sales team in the world, the best sales funnel in the world, but you're not building enough trust with people before they reach that funnel, before they get on the sales call, then it doesn't matter. They're not going to book. They're not going to show up. And if they do book and they do show up, they're likely not going to close. And even if they do all those things, they book, they show up, they close, they're probably going to have 10 stipulations. They're going to want a money back guarantee. They're going to want to do on a payment plan, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to understand there's a trust recession right now. You need to build this trust before you get on a call. The next key element that's happening in the marketplace right now is a study that was done by Google a couple of years ago, where they identified that after analyzing literally billions of buyer data points, on average, it took 7 hours of content to turn a stranger into a buyer. So previously, once again, when I was first starting my business, you could literally send a cold email, get on a call, show a sales presentation, and close somebody right away. But now buyers are getting more and more sophisticated. They're becoming more and more aware of everything that's going on in the marketplace. And before they buy anything, they are doing an insane amount of research. I'll give you a really great example. My fiance and I just bought our second home in our hometown. We have one in Miami, and we just bought a second one it's called Grayton Beach, Florida. And after I bought the home, well, actually, funny enough, even before I bought the home, I grew up in that town. But I was still doing an insane amount of research of what it would be like to live there full time now compared to when I was there 10 years ago. Once I bought the home, I was doing an insane amount of research on what boat to buy, what cover to buy for the boat, what engine to get for the boat, what paddleboards to get, what paddleboard rack to get, what lights to get on the outside. I mean, almost so much time that I literally felt guilty because I wasn't working on the business. But then I realized that I literally built a business that serves me instead of me serving it. And so those are some money limiting beliefs and issues that I had to kind of work through myself because I was actually having a lot of fun doing it. But I'll give you a great example. Yesterday, I spent, legitimately probably 1 hour trying to figure out what was the best light bulb and light switch situation for the outdoor lights in my new house because I wanted them all to sync together at the exact same time, be the same color and hue. So I'm watching YouTube reviews. I'm literally watching, reading Amazon tests. I mean, I probably spent 1 to 2 hours just on these outdoor light switches, right? And that total cost for me was, let's say, $200, okay? And so you're asking somebody for $5,000, $10,000, $50,000. And you're not giving them enough content to consume 30 minutes of content for you to build that desperately needed trust before you get on the sales call, well, it's going to be no wonder why people aren't closing, okay? So you need to create that 7 hours of content in order to get people to go from, okay, I've heard of this person before to I need to work with this person, please take my money, right? And that's called the 7 hour rule. And that was done by Google. So once again, this is a third-party platform. This isn't coming from Ravi telling you this. That was done by Google. And I can tell you that this is one of the best things that we do for our clients, especially those that are running ads or that are relying on referrals or that are relying on, let's say, cold outbound, something like that, will help infuse organic content into their current marketing process to get at least 2 hours of content, 3 hours of content before somebody gets on a call. And as far as the platform that you should choose in order to get that 7 hours of content, well, there's a few options for you. Like I said, you have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. I've done an unbelievable amount of research. And what I've pretty much found is, okay, if I need to get 7 hours of content for somebody to get on there, what's going to be easier? Creating 7 hours of content from Instagram Reels, so however many 60-second Instagram Reels that is, or creating 7 hours of content from, let's say, 30-minute or 1 hour long YouTube videos. Obviously, the YouTube videos is going to be way easier. I can sit down and talk. I don't have to do these crazy things. I'm not competing with all these different people. So already YouTube gets 1 point for me. Then when I dig deeper into the actual analytics, number one, YouTube has the highest income bracket of their viewers than any other platform. Literally 2 times higher than LinkedIn, which shocks a lot of people. There are 90% of people that make over $100,000 a year household income in the United States watch YouTube every single day, compared to 54% that use LinkedIn every single day. Okay, so it has the highest income bracket of any other platform. So if you're trying to sell a high ticket thing to qualified people, you might as well go where those qualified people are. The next thing is the YouTube half-life. Now, half-life is how long it takes on average for your content to get the half of the amount of engagement, views, comments, shares, likes, blah, 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 that it's ever going to get. And that's what a lot of people use in like science and medical research, stuff like that, because it's hard to tell when the full decay is going to be of something. So they say this is pretty much half of it. So this is the half-life. So when you look at content, there's a gentleman named Scott Graffis, and he comes out with a social media half-life study every single year. It's one of the most widely accepted ones. And Instagram is on average 19-hour half-life, meaning after you post something within 19 hours, it's had 50% of all the comment it's going to have. I think Twitter was 53 minutes. Snapchat was obviously almost instantaneously. Facebook, I think, was like 18 hours or 17 hours. YouTube, 7 days long. 7 days on average is the half-life of a YouTube video. So if you have to create less videos because the videos are longer, and your videos stay around longer and more people are seeing them after days after they publish, once again, it's going to be more bullish and make more sense for people to go to YouTube, which is why, I have created a YouTube channel that has over 100,000 subs. I've created multiple YouTube channels, and that's one of the main things that will help our clients do is start to get on YouTube where you get more and more qualified people that are watching more and more content. They show up and they just close. Okay, let's go back to our simple 4-step process really quickly. So So far, we've covered the actual offer itself. How do we collect payment, increasing our prices? Now we have covered attention. How do we get people to even be interested in what we're talking about in the first place? Next thing we need to move to is going to be right here, which is going to be the funnel. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Ravi, in your title, you said without doing funnels. Well, that's because if you're trying to get to 20K a month, you actually don't need the funnel that most people think, right? So let's move forward to what I think your funnel should be for anything from 0 to 20K a month. And it's very, very simple. You need a booking page. You need a thank you page. And you need a email and text sequence. Okay, that's your entire funnel, right? You could get it set up in probably 20, 30 minutes. Now, why do we have the funnel set up like this? Well, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Ravi, these people told me once again, I've worked with thousands of clients. I need a low ticket funnel. I need a webinar funnel. I need a lead magnet funnel. I need a video sales letter funnel, blah, blah, blah. Are all of those funnels useful? Absolutely. But if you're trying to make this as simple as humanly possible and you follow my other steps correctly, then you don't need any of that right now. You just need a way for somebody who's been watching you on YouTube or any of your contents, who's consumed a lot of your stuff, who likes what you have to say, and wants to work with you more on a one-on-one basis, usually an easy way for them to get on the calendar with you and to close. And so that's why the main page that I tell my clients to get is a booking software, a funnel page that has like Calendly or Go High Level or Schedule Once embedded on top of it there. And that's, you don't even have to have that, but that's just so that it makes it easy for somebody to coordinate when they're booking with you, right? It also helps you track analytics and be able to review like people's questions and create content from those questions, et cetera, et cetera. So I highly, highly recommend. I have actually a video on my other YouTube channel where I talk about the only sales page you need to get to $100,000 a month. And a lot of people were shocked. That video did very well, but I said it's a booking page. That's all you need, and I've done it multiple times. I have a portfolio company right now. We did $100,000 in 3 days after we launched it using just a booking funnel or using just a booking page. That's it, and this thank you page here. So now that offer is high price point because I follow my other advice there, and it's coming from an inbound frame from this content from the founder. Okay, so they have the inbound framing content, they have a strong frame, they have a high price point, they have a high value discrepancy. It made it a grand slam, right? $100,000 in the first 3 days, and in the first 2 months we'll average about $400,000 a month, right? And that's just with the booking funnel. Now, eventually I added a video sales letter to that funnel, but the first day that we launched it, we did a booking page and did $100,000. So don't overcomplicate things. You can set this up in about 5 minutes. Literally just, hey, if you're interested in learning more about this offer here, book a time down below. Now, there's a few caveats to the booking. I won't go too deep in this video, but the most important thing is you want filtration, meaning that your time is valuable even if you're not making a lot of money. And so I would rather have 1 call a day with somebody who can actually afford my services and who's ready to move forward than having 10 calls a day with 2 people who are potentially financially qualified and interested in working with me, and 8 people that are very unqualified, right? And that's how the numbers typically fall. Even if you just look at the household income brackets in the United States, the vast majority of people make less than $60,000 a year. So for you to sell something that's $10,000, 1/6 of their income, the majority of people that are booking barely probably have $2,000 in their emergency savings account to spend to work with you. So you want to make sure you have some kind of filtration questions on there. How much money are you making? How much money do you have saved? If this is the right fit, how soon are you willing to move forward? All of these are kind of filtration questions that can, a lot of people love to just have a packed calendar, but then they have 10 calls in the calendar, 50% of them no-show because they're not really that interested, and of the people that show up, you have a 10% close rate versus literally getting on the call with 1 to 2 people a day, but potentially closing 1 to 2 people a day as well, right? Going back to the whole purpose of our company, helping you build a business that serves you instead of you serving it. Well, that goes back to let's take less calls with more qualified people and take home more profit with less work. Our dollar per hour is ultimately higher, right? After people book, there is what's known as a thank you page. I have a bunch of different videos that goes through the thank you page and what to do, what to have on it, what not to have on it. But this is your opportunity to maybe have a little bit more sales and marketing messaging. So you got the booked call and they're redirected to another page. Well, then instead of just saying, hey, respond back and show up to the call, you want to maybe take 1 more second there and create either a sales asset, a video, a marketing asset, something like that, where you can educate them a little bit further. So it could just be a video of you just like this, sitting at a desk, 5-10 minute video, going a little bit more in depth about who you are, what makes you different, who you've helped in the past, pre-framing them for the call, et cetera, so that when they get on, they've had a little bit more of that 7 hours of content to speak with you. Which, speaking of that, the only way this entire funnel works is if you had the attention from earlier where they're consuming 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos from you. If you don't have that, if you're saying a tweet saying, hey, I can help you lose 10 pounds, I don't know how Twitter works, retweet this or comment down below and I'll send you a message, and you just send them a booking link, then they've consumed maybe 10 minutes of content from you, and so you're going to have no bookings, no shows, no closes, et cetera. So this only works if you follow what I talked about earlier, which is why we follow the critical constraint method, so that we follow a specific order of operations. So thank you page, you're going to warm people up, and then you're going to say, hey, respond back to the messages that we're sending you so we can confirm your call. Which brings me to the final part of the funnel here, which is going to be an email and SMS sequence. Please, for the love of all things holy, do not create a automated SMS and email sequence that's just from the calendar software. Don't just tell people 15 times before they call that they have a call coming up with an email and text. You're wasting that valuable attention that you're getting from that person saying the exact same thing over and over again. If you just set it so that people can't book more than 3 days out anyway, then they're not going to forget they have a call with you coming up. It's going to be on their calendar, which most people live by anyway. So don't waste that valuable attention doing something stupid. Instead, warm them up more, nurture them more. Maybe try to ask them an open-ended question so they respond back over email, and you can have a couple of conversations back and forth and get that 7 hours of content. I can't stress that enough. The more content they're consuming from you before they get on the call, the higher likelihood they are going to show up to the call and close and pay in full. So we want to try to create as much of that content as humanly possible, and that email and SMS sequence is going to be one really, really great example of how to do that. Okay, thank you guys for sticking with me so far. We only have one more step to go. So far we talked about how to create the offer, how to get attention, how to now create your very, very simple funnel, and the final thing we need to talk about is sales calls. How do we actually close them once we get on the call? Now, at this point, we should have a good offer that's relatively easy to sell at a high price point. We should have people that are getting onto the call with us who are already pre-qualified. They've already been nurtured. We already know that we filtered out the bad fits. And so already your sales calls are going to be 10 times easier than they ever were before, right? I've had clients that come in and they say, Ravi, I'm bad at sales. We literally never touch anything about their sales call. We just make these adjustments on the other areas, and they immediately become the best closers in the entire world, because before they were dealing with people that weren't qualified, weren't being filtered out, hadn't consumed enough content, were skeptical, blah, 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 right? And so now we need to focus on sales, which is going to be actually really simple to do because marketing's done a lot of the work for us. Now, the first thing I will say is do calls. Okay, I see there's like this kind of funny trend right now online where it's like, I close all these clients without doing sales calls. And look, I'm not going to knock anybody on what they're doing because everybody's trying to make a buck out here. So I get it. And if you know marketing really well, you know that in every marketplace, as it gets more and more saturated, you have to come up with newer and newer mechanisms that makes you different from everybody else. So, let me work with that guy because he's saying that I can close deals without getting on sales calls, and I hate sales calls, so I'm going to work with him over this other person that tells me I have to do sales calls, right? So I'm not knocking anybody, but I can say that most of the time, the only time that selling without a sales calls works is if you're selling people on how to sell without a sales call. So these people are selling people, hey, you can not sell sales calls. And so they're not selling sales calls to sell, not sell sales calls. And it's kind of this loop inside of it, which once again, I'm not knocking them, but I'm saying that it's going to be really hard, in my opinion, to be able to have enough velocity of inbound messages and cover enough questions in a short enough time frame in order to close deals. And I know this because, in any kind of sales process, there's typically some kind of setting process, and there's some kind of sales process. And so we do a lot of setting from my inbound DMs and from people messaging me, et cetera, et cetera. And the problem with that is that people take days to respond back. So when you send them a message and they send them a message and it's 5, 6, 7, 8 days versus you get on a call with them, you can cover everything within 60 minutes, answer all their questions, and then make a direct call to action, get the payment on the phone, you're going to massively shrink your sales cycle, right? The second reason why I think you should do sales calls is because of, honestly, this is probably the most important, this is market research, okay? For every single company that I've ever had, all my portfolio companies, all of that, I spend time every single month reviewing all the sales calls, why people are booking calls, the type of people that are booking calls, and I use that to iterate my marketing material, my sales process, my content that I'm creating, et cetera, et cetera. So if you don't do that, if you're just having people respond back to emails or click on this document or message you back and forth inside Instagram, it becomes very difficult to have one kind of like cohesive place where you can get market research for what's working and what's not working. The other thing that I love about sales calls is it allows you to pivot. Okay, I can't tell you. I mean, maybe that's exaggeration. Millions of dollars have been made over the last 4 years on a sales call where someone came in and they were like, oh, I wanted to do this, but this reason here, I'm not going to do it. And us being able to handle that objection and saying, okay, if your biggest problem, like I'll give you an example. We just closed a client for my portfolio company this morning for $30,000. And they said, oh, I'd really love to work with you guys, but unfortunately I'm going to be traveling for the next 14 days. So I'll circle back in 14 days from now because I really want to make sure that I get this started and have my full focus attention whenever I get back. If I was just doing this while a sales call, oh, no, please, let's get on a call. No. And then boom, they're gone. They're traveling for 14 days and I don't hear back from them at all. Or I wouldn't have even heard from them because I sent a Google document out to them. They saw it. They said, oh, it's not the right time. And then in 14 days from now, you better believe that you're never going to hear back from that person again, right? So instead, if I get on a call with them, they say, oh, I want to travel 14 days. Hey, I totally understand that, Bob. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and collect the payment today? We'll sign the proposal, and let me just I'll add a 21-day buffer. That way, even after you get back from your vacation, you're a little bit of a vacation hangover. You have a couple more days to get settled, get ready, and then we'll start when you come back. That way, we don't have to restart this whole process again. And because we only work with X amount of clients every single month, this will secure your spot so that you don't have to worry about losing it when the time actually comes. Boom, close the deal just like that. Right there, same day, don't have to go back and forth, right? So the first thing is do sales calls, don't be afraid of doing them. The second thing when it comes to sales calls, I don't really believe in sales training. Here's a fun fact for a lot of people here. I have never done a sales coaching program or training in my entire life. And I don't even think that I'm that amazing at sales, but I have closed millions of dollars, over $10 million of my own sales for my own money in my own company without any kind of formal sales training. Because all I think that, so let's put training here. I'm going to put a line through it. All that I think you need is what's known as a feedback loop. So you need to take an action, meaning you need to take a sales call. You need to review. You need to iterate. And then you need to take another action, which is do another sales call. That's all good sales is, right? If anybody tells you they have a secret formula to something like that with AI out here today, they're lying to you, okay? So all you need to do is just follow a very, very simple framework. It's the feedback loop. You take a sales call, you review it. Ravi, I don't know how to review a sales call. Fantastic. That's what AI is for, okay? Use AI. That's what we do in our companies and all of our clients. We show them the exact prompts and things that we use in order to have the sales call come in, have AI review it. How could we adjust it? Oh, hey, you should do these things here, change these things there. Okay, we go back to the sales script, we add it in there, and then we take the next sales call. Going back to that portfolio company I talked about previously, I think the founder took like 20 sales calls and closed one of them, which was a terrible close rate for those 20 sales calls. I took all the sales call recordings, gave them feedback, figured out what was wrong in the sales script that they were following before based on the sales call recordings and when we were losing the calls, and just kept on adjusting the sales script until we get to the point now where we have a closer in there and they're closing these $30,000 deals and they're like, yeah, I didn't get any objections. I didn't get any objections, et cetera, et cetera. And that comes because you've iterated the sales script over and over and over and over and over and over again. So the main thing you need to focus on here is after you take the sales call, having some kind of quality control process, whether it's you, a coach, somebody else like that, review the sales call, then adjust your sales script or your sales process or marketing process, and then take action with it again. Which brings me to the final point here on your sales calls, and I said it at the very beginning of it, which is that it's not, if you get into a sales call and people are not warmed up, they're not sold, they're throwing 100 objections with you, et cetera, you're not going to fix that problem on the sales call. That means that there's something wrong in the marketing process before they get on the sales call. So take the feedback from the sales calls, take all what people are saying, objection handling, blah, 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 and push it back over into the marketing and booking process in order to make sure that you can handle that and you get the right people in before they get on the sales call. Because if you get on a sales call and somebody's out of, let's say out of 10 being they're ready to go forward and 1 being that they don't want to work with you, if you get them on there and they're at a 2, it's going to be impossible in 1 sales call in order to get them to a 10, which is why you're going to need 2 sales calls, 3 sales calls. They're going to ghost you. But if they're at a 7, right? then you're going to have a higher likelihood chance of getting them over to a 10 on the sales call. So how do you get them from a 2 to a 7? Well, you take the feedback from the actual sales call from the clients that you're closing right now, and you infuse it in your top of funnel content that we talked about earlier. You infuse it in your marketing funnel that we talked about, or your post email sequences, your thank you page video, in order to make sure that you're pre-handling objections, creating the right framing for you, and setting yourself up or your sales team up for the highest chance of success for when they actually get on the call. If you want me to help you scale your business to $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 plus a month, be sure to go down below, click the first link, watch that short video, and book a call to speak with us.